So we're back where we left off on step one, where we just tested the install in that. And I actually found out I have a hand I can magically wave. Not sure how to use that yet. Try to figure it out. Um, but let's go on and do something a little bit beyond, I guess, the classic hello world. But there's nothing wrong with that program because what you're testing is everything installed and can VSCode, see Node, and can it run the code that I have? A little review, we have changed the default color scheme, font size, and turned auto save on. So I'm going to go File, Open Folder, and I'll make a new folder. And I'll make a new folder here called Step 02. And this will be more like a can we get input from the user? Input, okay? Or prompt them for something in that. So I will go here, I'll go select the folder. It closes the old one, opens up a new one. I have no files in here yet, so I'll just do my standard here, main.js. And for my Python students, right, it would have been main.py. And that never hurts to put some comments in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to calculate the area of a circle. Oh, so calculate the area of a circle, but we want the user to type the area in. That's our first problem, right? In something like Python, they have a function called input that will help you do that, right? And so there's lots of choices out there. I'm going to slide a screen in front here. Basically, NPM, the Node Package Manager, has tons of libraries that you can add to your project and that. So just take some digging around. Hey, what's the best prompt library out there? So one I ran into that I liked is called Prompt Sync and that. And so I need to install it, right? So it doesn't come stock with Node. Node's basic install, just the Node part of it, the part that interprets your JavaScript, is actually quite small. A little bit stuff around the event loop and encryption for doing HTTPS and a few other things and that. But it's a pretty small core library. Then you just add everything else. So how do you add something, right? In that. So I'm going to go terminal, new terminal. Now, I already tested that Node works, so it should be able to find all the other Node-like tools as well, and NPM is one of them. So I'm going to go npm install, and that means to, I think, save the fact that I installed this to my package.json, which doesn't exist yet. It'll exist after I do this install. Right now, my program has no dependencies except just the base node itself. What's going to happen now is I'm going to add software that isn't part of the base, and it needs for someone else to rebuild this. They would have to know, well, what packages did you install to get this application up and running? And so prompt sync. So it's basically going to go out to an online software repository, npm, pull that down, and install it. So I'm just going to go enter, and so you'll see it spin. Right, it's going to go talk to the mothership right now, and then try to install this particular library. Now, there we go. I'm on a VPN, so on Wi-Fi, so it might have got confused, but okay, got to figure myself out. Now, what you might notice is now I have a Node modules folder, and this is where all my packages are going to go. So any other installations I do of extra software will go down in this particular directory. So now I have it installed. I still need encode to say, hey, use prompt sync and that. So what to do? Typically define a variable, const. Okay, I'm actually going to call it input, only to make it look like I'm in Python And so people go, okay, input in Python, input in main.js, but you could call this something else. Prompt would be a really good one. And I'm going to say is equal to require. It hasn't woken up to, hey, I'm in JavaScript land. And who do I want to require? Notice I went the double quotes. Require knows to look in your node modules for packages. And the one I found there was prompt sync. Now we saw 3 other directories, but they may be part of prompt sync. It says you probably want this prompt sync. Now, typically when you bring software in, this is sort of how it goes. Like you say, oh, I want to, it's almost like doing an import in Java / Python / VB.NET, C#, that kind of stuff. So in other languages, right? So require is kind of sort of like, right? I'm sure there'll be lots of techno-weenie debates about it. It's kind of like going import in Python. Okay, and so there's that concept. Even when we do simple Python programs, I have to import math sometimes. Math happens to be part of the base, so I don't have to actually bring it in that. But prompt isn't. A lot of Node.js stuff is web applications. They go, well, the user's not going to be typing something at the command line. They're going to type it in through a web interface, or they're going to tap on something on their phone or something like that. But what I want to do is I want to just take away that web layer and just say, let's focus on JavaScript running at the command line, and then we can actually sort of build up to the web, and then we get a good feeling between what the back end node part's doing and what the front end, say, web browser is doing. But we're not there yet. Okay. Now there is one trick with this. Okay. Normally that's how I do a lot of my requires. Right? I just got to bring it in. Like if I want to connect to Postgres or something, I bring in the PG clients or pools in that. There's one little trick on this one. Is like I'm going to import the prompt sync library, but I need to activate it right away. Right? So before someone actually types at that terminal down below, I need to sort of hook into it. And so what this means is I'm going to import that code into this variable called input, but then I'm going to run it right away. Right? In that, or activate it. Okay, so you'll see this little notation out there where you just define a function and then all of a sudden there's a set of empty parentheses added in JavaScript. So what it basically means, you know that thing I just made? Run it. Okay, that's what that means. But this running it really means that it's hooking into the, I guess what in computer terms would be like standard in, standard out, which in this case right now is the terminal down below, down over here. So that's hooking this into this terminal for me. And then I just got to get in there and say, well, what do I want to do? And that. And so I'm going to have, I can have another variable. I can go const let or var, right? And that sort of thing. So I'll go const. Here is going to be, or do I? It doesn't matter. It's okay. I got to give it a name. Radius. That sort of thing. I do want radius to be a number. Now, number is a function that is built into JavaScript to convert any kind of text into a valid number in JavaScript land. So I want to do that because I'm going to be doing calculations. And then I just go input, right? And I send it a message and that. And so this part here, this input with a message, very just like the built-in Python input method, which is nice if you're transitioning from that area. I'll just go enter a radius, okay? I like to put a little colon there, and maybe a little space, so it's spaced off. Put my semicolon in. So what'll happen is that message will show up on the screen. Then the user will be like, okay, I guess the computer wants me to type something in. I'll type something in, hit enter, and then I'll do a calculation. So const, and I'll go area is equal to, and luckily for me, if I was in Python, I'd have to import the math class, right? But math is built in to the base here, math.py, and that. And so pi r squared, so my radius above, right? Something that's very similar with JavaScript and Python, they both do exponents with the double asterisk. Some languages, I think it's VB, does the caret above the 6. Some languages don't. They make you use a POW function and that. And I'll go radius squared, semicolon, done. And now I can print that out. Okay, and that never hurts to comment things. Again, I'm just going to grab this just to remind us. What are we doing here with these require statements? Okay, this is how we add / import code, right? We use require to do that. And copy this. This is just, so prompt the user for the radius, right? Nice and simple. That's your input area, right? Your classic input-output process, right? Input. I'll grab this, right? And that, just so that we have some reference later on to say, okay, what's happening, right? This is where we calc the area, and that's your classic process. And then we need to output it eventually, right? And so this next area will be not input, but output. And so, display the result to the user. Because sometimes we'll send it off to a web page, or maybe we put it in a database, so maybe it won't go to the screen. So display the result to the user. And I'll just use console log to do that, but there's one trick in there I'm going to show you. If you are a Python user, you may have bumped into the F string. So this where we format a string and then we drop in values. JavaScript has something very similar. Okay, it uses back quotes, right? It doesn't use the F in front of that. Instead, it uses a different set of quotes to trigger, hey, I'm dropping stuff in. And then it's $, curly brace, to drop in a variable. So I'm going to use that technique just to show you down below how that works. So console, right, .log, and back quotes, okay, the area for the radius $. See how it changed color? It knows just going to drop a variable in there. So the area for the radius such and such is area, right? So $, right? Oop, P got in there. Area. Done. I'm going to semicolon in that. So very, I guess it should be console.log. So very simple program, but just some basics. Like there isn't a prompt built in because Node is usually a web thing. So it usually has a lot of web stuff it has to do. But we can bring a prompt in. Someone wrote one. It's got a really nice thing for echoing characters if you have to enter a password so that people don't see you type it in on the screen, which is nice. I like it. I need to convert it to a number, right? Types do matter, so I like to make sure that my numbers are numbers and my dates are dates, my strings are strings. I then calculate an area using the built-in math class. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Standard math things, cosine, sine, atangent, square root, if you're hunting down math type things. And then there's some tricks here, a few little JavaScript tricks. But we see this in a lot of languages. There's usually some way to do this type of formatting where I can drop in, or like templating, some people call it, to drop in a value. So the thing is, that's a lot of code to write. Most of it's comments, but it's just a reminder, well, how do we do this stuff, right? So I can just run my main.js down here, or use the launch facility. We'll try both. So I'll go main. Whoops. Node, right? Node. Main.js, right? Enter a radius. 10. 10 squared is 100. 100 times pi is 314 and change, right? Ooh, interesting. Let's go see what happened. I found the error. Me fighting with IntelliSense. Math.capital P pi. There is no thing with lowercase pi, case sensitive. It's good that you saw that, right? I'm not sure IntelliSense should have helped me out a little bit more there. Or I typed too much and said, okay, I won't use the one that exists. So let's try that one more time. I have autosave on. If I didn't, I'd have a little blue indicator here and a little dot up here saying I haven't saved the file. Let's try it and see if was that the issue. Right? I don't think it remembers what I typed in. No. So in this case, I'll go 10 again, and now it's working. That's not bad to actually see that fail like that. We learn a few things. Okay, so what are we doing? We're showing how, okay, look, we can do node stuff like we do Python stuff. So node could be a solution for your basic Windows or Linux scripting needs, right? Because everyone always has this desire that I could just if I can use one language for development in the web and also all my shell scripting, that would be so nice. Usually we're bouncing around languages all the time between different ones. So that's all I wanted to show you there, and my little fail, which is good. So that concludes this video.